Now in Agra, and down there is the entrance, I think, to the south entrance ticket office. Walkabout, and I saw this thing that looked like a well, and I'm sure it is a well. It's pretty good size, isn't that amazing? Now it's just a trash dump. Just walked from the eastern gate across, parallel to what I think is the river from east to west, and came down through here, which said up above on the next level, to West Gate parking. So I just came over to the west side. Interesting that the Taj Mahal is in the center of a large square formed by these two that you see at these two corners and two more off to the right on the east side. The fog is starting to lift a little bit, suggesting that tomorrow afternoon might be a good time to come. Taj West Gate. What this building is, probably on that placard we just looked at. It may be defined in the National Geographic special. Looking pretty tawdry. The West Gate, you get a clue. That's the ticket line up to there. This is the West Gate, and the line to enter starts right there, wraps all the way down there, wraps back up to here, and back down here to who knows where. I'm thinking that this building might be a duplicate of the one we just looked at, but I don't think it is. And here, presumably right here is the end of the line. English selfie people exploring the perimeter for the fun of it. Once upon a time was a park, I would imagine. Whether it was in the day of Shah Jahan, I doubt. This is just a tourist money-making machine. Back at that west gate, somewhere in there is the Taj Mahal. I think I don't know. See, in India, you just go to the bathroom like I'm about to, wherever you can stop. And nobody bats an eyelash. Don't know what that building over there is. Maybe I can orientate myself if I can find some kind of map, maybe in Lonely Planet. This might have been a pretty little park. See where there used to be beds of plants down in there? Whatever this once was, it's now just been turned back over to the people who sell crap, more stuff. But notice what pretty water feature it once had for some reason. This is a statue as I work my way back to my hostel. This is a statue here of a woman on a horse. You can't even get close to it because it's now all covered up, as you can see, and then surrounded by tuk-tuks anyway. Main Street, see if we can wander in some back streets just for the fun of it. Swill. As you can see, nothing redeeming about this. Oh, there's something kind of cute and pretty. But notice this man here. Got a fire that's smoking up, and the kids are all around it. I mean, you're killing your kids. And he damn near did it. You can imagine that once upon a time this was an important gate and an important and probably fairly cohesive looking place. Now it's achieved some of the higher levels of overall squalor that I've seen as an area in general, as opposed to some specific places I've been in that were particularly gnarly. This would probably be in the day of square. It is right now of sorts. There's lots for sale. Hello. It's just your local Walmart. Time for the last half hour to get control of this animal. And they finally got their hands on it. Looks like he's got it under control. Ticket, it's interesting to note the foreigner pays 1,000 rupee, the local or national pays 30, and this is just the beginning. And so we'll go out on the road and walk down till we hit the east gate, I guess. The reality is that we will see nothing for several hours unless occasionally people say it breaks and you can actually see the exterior of the Taj. Entered through the east gate, and I don't know how we'll exit. Yesterday I went from the east gate over to the west gate and back to my hostel. Must be the north gate, and the west gate is down there, and the south gate is here to my left. Here's the best view we've got so far of the entrance into the Taj Mahal complex. According to National Geographic, standing in this position on a sunny day, the Taj Mahal would be dead center ahead of us in the distance and look much larger because of this framing of this archway. Just walked through the forecourt. We entered from the east gate over here, and we're now probably about here. Now we'll walk through there. And this is the gardens here. You can read more about it in National Geographic, and then the Taj beyond. Many people, this would have been enough, but for his wife, he wanted something beyond this world. The irony of it is, and there's a double irony here, that in creating this, he created famines in various parts of the country because he sucked so many resources, food, etc., and labor out of the rest of the country to build this, that famine occurred. The irony is that it may be that now it's such an incredible attraction that it actually provides a livelihood for this exploding population. There, with your radar vision that you will have by implants sometime in the future, you can make out the Taj Mahal. So, this is the outside of the main gate. And we can't shoot video behind me, so. This park looks like it's maintained. The part between here and the Taj is a mess. I'm guessing that at one time what was envisioned by the city planners was that this road, which at one time was probably very, very nicely done, would be completely lined by parks and would be the main artery from Taj Mahal to Agra Fort. Much of this area is just trashed out. Some of it is somewhat maintained. That area over there that you can't see has just been taken with a tractor of some sort, and the debris that was on there piled up. As you can see, it's being piled into this creek right now. Now here's a part that looks pretty nice, so maybe they're intending someday to upgrade all of this again. Off to the left, past this majestic looking statue in the fog, is Agra Fort. We enter Agra Fort. It was the original moat. Now that's just a trench in there for runoff, I assume. Very pretty fort. Now I wonder if it was in the day of this greenery like this. We'll get a closer look at the inlay stonework on that full towers around the entry. But it's pretty in its size with this color that has so many variations from black to light beige. But you can imagine people crowded out in that balcony when important people would arrive. It would be a big experience, I would assume. Take a look at some of the detail, starting up on this rim that goes around both towers and over the entry gate. Imagine that it might have been more brilliant looking when it was complete new. The panels beneath it. Detail over those arch niches. The know what that calligraphy stands for, what it means. This graphic design goes all the way around where those balconies were. To the next highest level. Through those double or triple gates, I'll just pan through what might have been a garden and now is a pretty lawn area. And those buildings we see in the fog. Entry gate, and then this ramp to road beneath us goes up to the level that I'm at right now, which now is heavily lawned, and even in the fog looks like it probably would look very pretty. This was the facade that was presented directly over the entry gate. Notice women do all the heavy hard work, the hod carrying. That this pedestal area probably held some kind of little temple. Who knows? Why I don't like guides. Sometimes you can get absolutely tranquil moments like this without their constant jabbering about something you either could have read about or you won't remember or didn't need to know. Although sometimes there are fascinating tidbits, in all fairness. We just panned across the Bengali Mahal, 1565, 1569. And it was a vast palace of which only the portions we see remain, built by Akbar, the third essentially and the most powerful and memorable of the emperors, if you will, although Shah Jahan, who built the Taj Mahal, runs a pretty good second, I would get, for monuments built. Decorative Stone talks about this as though some of it still exists. I don't know if that's true or not. It talks about ingenious flat ceilings, etc. Harem was housed in this palace. Harem. What an irony that my society thinks messing around with some other woman on the weekend or on the weekdays is a real travesty. These people put it right out in front with 200 or 300 of them. I think somewhat alluring about looking at this red sandstone in the fog. These little windows providing a view for women to see what was going on in the huge courtyard. It's a very pretty interplay of that white stone and the graphics as well as the individual carvings. It's a very pretty domed entry, if you will, with faux balconies. And those pretty little details, some have not been knocked off, but almost like little flowers. What this little trench was right along here, what was it that ran along here consistently to create that niched detail? This one blank, but this one, the niche is filled with what look like flowers. Very beautiful carved detail on these balcony roof buttresses. We'll go up and take a little closer look.
This is a hallway. Notice it's nicely carved. Notice those, what I think are called jalis, J-A-L-I-S. But that would be for women and others to look through this wall and watch whatever the meeting or gathering here was for. Beautifully carved walls. Great detail. Reminds me of some of the lovely wallpaper I used to decorate my apartments with when I had a lot of antique oak furniture. Look how heavy and opulent look those items there. I just find shots like this to be very interesting. How pretty this room must have been, since it is lovely now. It's interesting because it highlights the fact that these are thin panels, relatively speaking, that were created and then applied to what I'm pretty sure is a red brick structure underneath. You just keep pulling me back. I think it's such a majestic, strong, detailed, opulent look. Compare the inherent quality of this chalk or courtyard compared to the almost icky, plain, blah courtyards that we've seen in Jaipur and in other places. I assume once upon a time that was painted white. Now we've exited from that interior courtyard to an outer courtyard. Notice different styled columns, simple in a way, but interesting. Those water features that really intrigues me. I'd love to see one of these filled with water so you could see what the effect is.
Come from the ground, can you see that?
Use pretty much about a 300-degree pan. Beautiful courtyard. The red sandstone accented with that whiter stone, and it might have been originally a white marble that's now discolored from weather, perhaps. Got the sloppy paint job that they painted that white here just to accent it. This is Shahjani Mahal, 1628-35. This is the man who built the Taj Mahal. First attempt to convert an existing red stone building into one that suited his sensitivities. Imagine he and his family enjoying a dinner there on a cool evening with beautiful sunset. And that this room would have been elaborately painted and carved and detailed. And these would be the other rooms, some of the other rooms. A much larger domed room opening up into the courtyard with white marble. Wall just a hint of the graphics. So it would have been a very colorful room. A white building, probably a temple or maybe one for meeting the people. We'll find out in a moment. Just guessing that this huge space was probably the center of the palace's activity. Maybe this was where the family and extended family had their rooms, and they could all look down on what might have in the day been a pretty garden with perhaps a water fountain there. And this may have even been a palace or a temple that they worshipped in. In this courtyard there are those extensions of the buttresses that have holes in them for holding a post or who knows. This is the Taj Mahal. Very lovely white building. No surprise where you got the idea of covering over the red brick with these marble engravings. This is the engraving underneath the central and highest arch. Notice that 4 rings up there might have held a majestic chair for the man to sit on for audiences. I'm just winging it. Closer look at that semi-domed niche. Pretty space. And I think some of those patches and patterns we see would have been more definitive colors than we see now. Don't quite know why I think so. I'm just guessing. This is painted, as you can see, and not carved. Whereas this is carved out here. It has the patina of old ivory. And notice over in the corner this kind of sculpted inverse tiered reflection of what you see over the doorways of mosques. Or archway faces to the outside. But what's interesting is notice how there's a translucence to these panels up here that are on the outside wall. So presumably that stone has been enough that it will be translucent. I don't think I've seen that before. Here are the other such dome niche. It's dramatic of these water features that I've seen, these fountain pools, for lack of a better term. The most dramatic in the sense of the most elaborate of carving or of design. Notice this almost looks like a scroll work in here. And yet it provides spaces for people to sit if they chose. So maybe the water level was able to get up fairly high and still have the fountains. How beautiful that might have been as I envision it. And each of these little areas had a fountain. So if you were sitting here, you'd have a little fountain on either side of you, plus those 5 out in the middle. Coming out of the Taj Mahal into this courtyard, and we'll go down and read that sign, see what it says. But again, the emphasis on the white marble, an expensive emphasis, I'm sure, for the royal family. Shahanara, so his last name, Shah Jahan, what's an ara? Is this simply another room that gave him another view from his palace? There's a particularly novel treatment here, and that is that this part is carved out, but it's recessed back in there so that it looks three-dimensional. Here a fortress wall, the moat, and then another wall. But this here is not the same treatment. It's very thick niche, or deep niche, but not that three-dimensional look. Jahangir's Chain of Justice, 1605. I don't know what this magnificent inlaid room is. Probably an audience room. The area beyond this room is covered with this large dome. Now looking closely at this, I can't be sure that it's inlaid. In fact, I got a feeling it may just be painted. I can't be sure. And yet some portions, like right here if you notice, might be an inlaid piece, or at least the hole where one was. Notice the balcony out there, and 3 doors going into that inner room underneath the dome, and the niches on the far wall back there inside that area. Notice this pretty carved relief in white, how reminiscent it is of the Taj Mahal. Again, this being his first fort that he attempted to put into his style, or desired style. So much that we see here is reflected in the Taj, principally the white marble. Don't know what that material is. This is the building, and this portion of the building, it's interesting, because here's a water trough, and water flows down through there. And you can see here that it would be into a little pool. And you wonder, because this is slanted, whether somehow water trickled down through there. This is the Shahi Hammam and water supply system. Hammam meaning baths, hot baths. This was built by Akbar but renovated by Shah Jahan. The Shahi Hammam, also called Ghusl Khan, was originally built by Akbar and renovated by Shah Jahan's closed complex of octagonal halls and rooms interconnected by quarters with only a few jali openings on the riverside. The instrument room above the furnaces had 2 large pots of brass and copper. Clay and copper pipes sunk mysteriously into the masonry walls were conducted to other rooms, some of which had miniature tanks hidden in the corners. At the dado height, the secret of this mechanism is not known to us today. Construction is in brick masonry, but pavements and dados were originally finished in white marble. Walls were in stucco and painted. Every room is connected by a hypercaust system. A ventilator is provided at the apex of each cupola-shaped dome ceiling. Some backyard quarters served the purpose of imperial toilet. Its mechanism shows that some sort of air conditioning was working, and this was mainly used as a summer palace for conducting business of confidential nature, as foreign travelers have observed it ranks among the finest amongst of the Mughals. There are 3 deep tanks on its roof. These were filled by river water drawn by a Persian wheel, a water wheel, near the Kirzi or water gate. From these overhead tanks, water was fed to the fountains, cascades, and tanks of Naginas and Majid, Machi Bawan, Shish Mahal, and Muhammad Burj. Through watertight clay and copper pipes and open channels, river water in Mughal times was clean, pure, and fully potable. King Shah Jahan used it for drinking. Ayyubad besieged the fort after the Battle of Samogarth and stopped its water supply, forcing the king to surrender on 8 June 1658. Thereafter, Ayyubad secured the gates by additional barbicans. Just to orientate, there's the entrance to the fort, or at least it's above the entrance to the fort. This is the palace complex that we've just looked at. And I don't know
what all that back over there is. Maybe we'll get to find out in a few moments. But this is a beautiful large area. I wonder if this was made at the fort in Jaipur. Probably not, it's a British cannon. Just 3 riflings in there, it looks like. Interesting. I wonder if those are domes over the hammam. Apparently that area over there that has the beautiful white onion domes is work in progress. No access. Called a step well, but it's not because there aren't any steps. Most you can call it a well. So the Dawan-i-Am is perhaps that building there. This is a very pretty little tomb, grave site. This is a metal bridge over the moat. It might not have always been metal, but this is fascinating. I haven't seen it before. It's a technique for raising the moat easily. And what it is, it looks like there's pulleys up there, and then this huge drum that's allowed to roll down this incline like this, and presumably all the way out to here. It does it on both sides. Presumably it's balanced such that when it rolls down by gravity, it's just slightly heavier than is the door itself, the bridge itself. Very clever. I've never seen that before. Very clever. Huh. There we can see the far end of the fort, I think, beyond that bus through the fog. Let us make Agra the city of gardens once again. And then there's this one. Let us understand how the concept of Mughal garden changed over time. It seems so pathetic, so plaintive a plea. I don't say that with disdain, but rather with profound pity for the people who live in this country. Walking back, I see this beautiful entryway, don't know what it's for. Behind me is part of this large park area that I've been walking alongside of. My bet is, and I'm getting a suggestion, a hint from signs around here, that probably these parks have been divvied up amongst the big hotels with the appropriate amount of bribery in order to do so. They've taken it from the people, who with all due respect probably didn't know what to do with it and trashed it anyway. One of the prettiest birds I've seen in my life. Here there used to be very pretty ponds. Now there are those polluted bodies of water. Although this is where that absolutely drop-dead gorgeous bird lives. If it wasn't such obvious raw filth, it'd be pretty. The colors are interesting, the design alluring. The central area on a Tuesday or Wednesday, I think, in this inner city between the fort and south of Taj Mahal. All there, bicycle and motorcycle repair up there. Herds of tuk-tuks waiting for the locals to return back home. And here, for those who know what it is, food and drink. Some pestle and mortars for pounding out your ginger for your chai.